weights, start running, or honestly just get moving a bit more, this framework we're unpacking today, it's going to completely flip how you view self-control. So let's jump right into it. So, why do we always quit the gym after just a few days? I mean, we've all been there, right? You watch this super inspiring speech online, you get that sudden massive surge of motivation, and you go out and buy the expensive new running shoes. You know the ones that inevitably end up sitting in the corner gathering dust. You hit the gym really hard for a bit. But then, maybe a few days later, you wake up exhausted, the mood totally fades, and you just fall completely off track. You see, the problem is relying on that initial spark. Because when that spark burns out, well, your brand new routine burns out right along with it. And this whole issue really boils down to one fundamental misunderstanding. We constantly confuse motivation with discipline. Think about motivation like unpredictable electricity from the power grid. It surges and drops based on your mood, maybe the weather outside, or just how well you slept last night. If the grid goes down, the lights go out. Simple as that. But discipline? Discipline is like having a rock-solid independent power inverter wired into your house. It keeps the lights on regardless of what's happening outside. It honestly doesn't care how you feel, it just executes. Okay, so how do we actually build that reliable inverter in our own minds? Well, instead of jumping straight into those brutal hour-long workouts that just leave you totally wiped out and sore for a week, we need to look at the Japanese concept of Kaizen. Basically, Kaizen is all about focusing on getting just 1% better every single day. It's this philosophy of continuous, truly microscopic improvement. You aren't trying to overhaul your entire life overnight. Actually, scratch that. You shouldn't try to do that. You're just aiming to be a tiny fraction better than you were yesterday. Because think about it, if you improve by just 1% daily, that compounds massively over the course of a year. And this lines up absolutely perfectly with what behavioral experts tell us. James Clear points this out beautifully in his book Atomic Habits. He explains that building a good habit is kind of like cultivating a really delicate flower, just taking it one day at a time. He says all big things come from small beginnings. The seed of every habit is a single tiny decision. It's so true, right? You don't grow a massive oak tree in a single afternoon, and you're definitely not going to build a champion's physique in a week. You've got to nurture it. So in practical terms, this means you have to make your starting habit embarrassingly small. And I mean literally embarrassing. There's actually this famous case of a guy who kicked off a 52-kilo weight loss journey just by walking 20 meters to his mailbox every single day. That was the whole workout. So your day one might literally just be putting your gym shoes on your feet. That's it. Day 14, maybe that's a quick 15-minute home workout. And then by day 30, you're finally stepping into the gym for that 1-hour session. You have to lower the barrier to entry so much that your brain can't possibly say no. And here is the real magic of starting that small. This tiny bit of daily movement becomes what's called a keystone habit. Think of it exactly like that first piece in a giant domino setup. Tipping it over naturally triggers this whole cascade of positive changes in totally different areas of your life. Like you start doing just 10 minutes of daily movement, and suddenly, hey, you find yourself wanting to drink a little more water. Then you're naturally choosing whole foods. Maybe you're even making your bed in the morning. It shifts your entire life's momentum, and the best part is, it doesn't require any massive feats of willpower. To really lock this in, let's take a quick look under the hood at the mechanics of the brain. The researcher Charles Duhigg found that every habit operates in the super fast 4-step neurological loop. A cue triggers a craving, which then motivates a response, and that leads to a reward. Think about your phone. It buzzes, that's the cue. You want to see who texted? There's the craving. You pick it up, response. You feel connected? Reward. Boom, boom, boom. To build unbreakable gym discipline, we literally just have to intentionally hijack this exact loop before our workouts. By applying these 4 laws of behavior change, you can manipulate your environment so that getting up and working out is actually the path of least resistance. Make the cue obvious. Leave your gym clothes right next to your bed the night before. Make it attractive. Tell yourself you can only listen to your absolute favorite podcast when you're listening. Make it easy. Choose a gym that's directly on your commute home from work. And make it satisfying. Grab a red marker and put a giant X on a wall calendar every time you finish. You're basically designing a system where failing is literally harder than just doing the thing. Now, once that system is up and running, how do we make it indestructible? To reach this truly unbreakable level of consistency, we can actually learn a lot from the Zen monk concept of yoji. This translates to continuous practice without ever taking an unplanned gap. It's a level of discipline that honestly almost looks a little scary from the outside, just because it never, ever stops, no matter what's going on around them. See, there's a really profound difference between how we think and how monks think. Most of us make what you'd call reversible commitments. The alarm goes off at 5 a.m., and instantly we start this mental negotiation. Ugh, am I too tired? Should I just hit snooze for 10 more minutes? Let's face it, the sheer gravitational pull of a warm bed at 5 a.m., it's nearly impossible to fight that with just willpower alone. But monks, they don't wake up at 3:30 a.m. based on how they feel. They make their practice an irreversible commitment. The option to even negotiate with themselves is just totally removed. The bell rings, and they move. No questions asked. To achieve this for yourself, you have to pre-solve your obstacles because life is inevitably going to throw chaos at you, right? It's going to rain, you're going to have to travel for work, or you'll just be dead on your feet after a long day. If you try to decide what workout to do in that specific moment of stress, your brain will always succumb to decision fatigue. It'll choose the couch, which, by the way, suddenly feels like it has the gravitational pull of a black hole. So the trick is to write down a backup plan beforehand. When it pours rain, you do push-ups in the garage. When you travel, you hit a hotel room bodyweight circuit. You don't suffer decision fatigue because you just execute your predetermined backup plan like a machine. But hey, we're human. Mistakes happen to all of us. And that brings us to the absolute golden rule of consistency. Never miss twice in a row. If you fall off track for one day because, life genuinely gets in the way, do not spiral into quitting. Take a deep breath, don't beat yourself up, and throw the whole plan out the window. Just remember this rule. Missing one day, that's just a tiny blip on the radar. But a second missed day, that's when you start a brand new habit of quitting. So you just get right back on the horse the very next day, even if it's just that tiny 1% action. Because look, building this muscle isn't always going to be a walk in the park. Let's be real for a second. You aren't always going to feel motivated. As Mike Tyson so perfectly put it, discipline is doing what you hate to do, but doing it like you love it. There are absolutely going to be days when the weights feel impossibly heavy. Your legs are screaming, and the weather outside is just miserable. But the core difference between winners and dreamers is that winners act despite how they feel. They embrace that discomfort because they know for sure that it's the steep price of admission for reaching their goals. So do yourself a favor and forget about setting those massive, intimidating weight loss goals. A goal is really just about winning a single game, but a system is about continuing to play the game forever. Think about it. If you only focus on losing 20 pounds, what happens the second you hit that number? You stop. You're done. Instead, shift your entire focus to building a daily system that keeps you consistently showing up to play. Do that, and the results will completely take care of themselves. Ultimately, true discipline really sticks when your identity shifts. You've got to stop saying things like, I'm trying to go to the gym, or I'm trying to get in shape. Saying trying kind of implies you're just faking it. Start telling yourself, I am an athlete, or I am someone who doesn't miss workouts. When your identity shifts at its absolute core, you don't need intense willpower to get off the couch anymore. Why? Because being a disciplined athlete is simply who you are now. Your actions will just naturally align with your new identity without all that exhausting internal struggle. So we've broken down the blueprint. We've laid it all out. The choice right now is entirely yours. You can stay stuck in the exact same cycle, just waiting around for that unpredictable motivation to finally strike, or you can pick one tiny, embarrassingly small action right this second to start rewiring your destiny. Put the shoes on, drop and do 5 push-ups, go drink a glass of water. The clock is ticking. What embarrassingly small action are you going to take today to build your unbreakable identity? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you all next time.